We have just 2 more weeks to decide ourselves a champion here in the World GT Championship, and we've come to the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone, for round number 11 of season 12 of this wonderful championship. Hello everybody, Paul Smith and Peter Mackay on commentary for you here on RaceSpotTV. And Peter, I mean, this championship, it could not be closer at all amongst any of the standings.
I know, we've got 3 classes in this championship, Pro, Pro-Am and Am. They're all going to go down to the wire with 2 race days to go. And that Pro class is separated by 2 teammates in the same car by just 10 points. It is so close. Cannot wait to get racing tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. It's 2 40-minute races here tonight for you. So, of course, we have a reverse grid for the second race, which could really spice things up in the championship. But Silverstone, we're here this week. Last week we were at Spa-Francorchamps, and Silverstone is another Grand Prix circuit, really fast circuit as well, but there's plenty of space here to make moves.
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's of course a Grade A FIA circuit, lots of runoff. So yeah, you can take a little bit more risk in traffic as well, go for some moves as well. It's going to be very exciting to see what happens. And with the way the balance of performance is adjusted, we saw a real shake-up in the order last week at Spa. How will the Mercedes get on this week? Because it's been difficult for them over the last week or 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we are then. This is the schedule. You can see we started all the way in the height of summer at Barcelona, and we've worked our way through the season across North America to Japan to Australia, and now we're back to Europe, and it's back to British soil. And yeah, we'll get to see how this all pans out, because next week, of course, we do have the championship finale at the Nürburgring, so you do not want to miss that one. But speaking of championships, well, we've said it so far. 10 points separate the top 2. As Peter said, 2 Pure Sims Esports drivers. Ross McFarlane going back into the lead of the championship, taking that from Alex Davidson. Jack Sedgwick and James Armstrong, they're still in with a shout, but it's going to be they're going to need some good performances these next couple of weeks. And Alex Gall there as well in 5th place. Matt Fletcher, Yannis Albert, Michael Avdoka, and then Derek Crony, and of course Adam Watson rounding out the top 10. In Pro-Am, this is just as close as the Pro standings. Chris van der Nest jumps to the head of the standings by 26 points over his Evo SR teammate of Mark Hutchinson, current Pro-Am champion. Paul Webster did go into last week in the lead, had a bit of a mare, ends up 50 points behind the championship leader right now, with Andy Archer a further 4 points back. Jensen Adriansen's, after that good week last week, gets himself just 65 points off of the championship lead, so don't write him out yet. Ethan Critchley, he's got a good shout as well. It's just so close in that Pro-Am championship, and yeah, certainly there's a good 6 or 7 drivers who can win that one. In your AM standings, it is just 5 points separating Jack Osborne and Jesse Payne-Wilkins. Again, ridiculously close, these championships, with Martin de Jong then 41 points off of the championship lead in 3rd place. Then Adam Hedgecock ahead of Paddy Faulkner, with Paul Crawford. Lars Van Rijn, last season's champion in AM, down in 7th place, ahead of Jim Whitehouse, Andy Gilmore and Ed May. The Enduro standings. This is one championship that has been signed, sealed and delivered, and it's Ross McFarlane who is your endurance champion. So the first championship has been decided by 6 points of Ethan Critchley. Well, 6.5 points if we're going to be more correct. But yeah, Mark Hutchinson in 3rd then in the Enduro standings. But congratulations to Ross for getting one championship under his belt. The team's championship, well, this is about the one that really that it's already pretty much sealed is this one. Pure Sims Esports have a 778 point lead over Altitude Esports, who are in second place now. Maradna Satellite E-Stars, who again didn't have a good race last time out, are down into third place, with Evo SR, the top Pro-Am team, they're in fourth place overall. Brabham Esports and Full Tilt V Motorsport switch positions, and then Century Sim Esports, DCW Racing, Century Sim Racing, and Angry Sheep Simulations to round out the top 10. But Peter, we've got pretty much perfect conditions here. 26 degrees track temperature, so the drivers will be able to push their tyres. And, well, after speaking to him last week, shock horror, Josh Thompson's in pole position provisionally.
And shock horror not that we've got a Porsche 1-2. Josh Thompson told us how strong that 911 GT3R is at the moment and how much it would suit the layout at Silverstone. He's been proven absolutely correct. The Porsches at the top of the field are 0.4 of a second clear of anybody. This is remarkable stuff, remarkable turnaround. There's been a big change with the balance of performance over this latter part of the season. Luckily, Paul, our two pro-class contenders, they're in the same car, so we've got a completely even playing field there, but it does see that the Porsches are running well. That being said, you've still got to go ahead and get in and drive it, and we're now seeing the real Josh Thompson, aren't they? We're seeing him really making a difference. He's got a car that he likes, and you see just why he's got a pro-class license.
Yeah, certainly he is getting to stretch his legs out at the front, which is good to see. Alex Gall, though, could get his first win of the season. Josh, winning last time out, got his first win of the season, so we'll have to see how things go. But we'll be getting ready to show you your starting grid. We've got a nice big grid for you as well. So 42 cars taken to the grid, and it is Josh Thompson then. Pole position alongside him in a Porsche is Alex Gall, with Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson, the two Pro Championship leaders, side by side on row number 2, with Tom Dadswell and Jacob Machuski on row number 3. Row 4 for James Armstrong and Jared Caroni, with Adam Watson and Tom Brown, your top Pro-Am. And look at that, it's a Porsche. Yannis Albert and Mark Fletcher then, row number 6, with row 7, Chris van den Ness and Jensen Adriansons. Row 8 for Richard Simner and Andy Archer, with Jack Osborne, the first of the AM drivers, on row number 9. Alongside him is Tim Perry. 10th row of the grid, Paul Crawford and Pete Harrod, with Paul Webster and Ben Gregory then sharing row number 11. Row 12, Mark Hutchinson and Ashley Finch. Row 13 for Adam Hedgecock and Michael Gray. Lee Berridge and Jessica Wilkins sharing row number 14, with the 15th row shared by Martin de Jong and Andy Gilmore. Jim Whitehouse and Phil Samways then row 16, with the 17th row of Mark Woodhouse and Patrick Faulkner. Laz Van Rijn and Michael Blake share row number 18, with the 19th row of Brian Sohn. And then these are drivers who've got penalties. Jack Sedgwick, that's a big name there straight away. Michael Evdoka, another quick driver down there at the back of the grid. Andy Shield, who probably still feeling the effects of sleep deprivation after last week's outing to the hospital with his dear wife. Ethan Critchley and Timothy van der Broek. And then that is your grid. So, 42 cars, Peter. We're just waiting for the final couple of cars to come onto the grid. But, I mean, how are you calling this one? Do you think it is going to be a Porsche domination?
It certainly seems that way. The only way that could be adjusted is if the two Pure Sims Mercedes begin to mix it with the Porsches. We know that the Porsches are making up fantastic lap time. However, they need the clear air to do it. They make it up on corner speed. They make it up on braking. They don't necessarily make it up on the straights. So let's see how that plays out. If anybody wants to have a chance, they've got to get in there quickly.
Don't forget that pit stops, there is a mandated pit stop in this race, so they will come into play in this one. So strategy can come into this one a little bit. We expect to see everybody pitting from about halfway to 10 minutes to go. Through Club Corner they go, and Josh Thompson leads them away, and he's going to get the jump on the exit of Club Corner, and Alex Gall is almost caught sitting there because he's got two pure Sims Mercedes absolutely neck and neck, side by side into Abbey for the first time, through that sweeping right-hander, into the left, and then onto the brakes. Heavy braking zone. This is a perfect opportunity to make some places up in the early going through this section. And if off into the wall, that's Martin de Jong. He's off and had it into the wall, so hopefully he doesn't have too much damage there. But we're down the Wellington Straight then for the first time. It is Porsche, Mercedes, and we've got three wide further back in your field here, Peter.
Wow, brilliant stuff as they head into Brooklands underneath the British Racing Drivers Club. And then in towards Luffield they go. Good stuff, the good minding of the manners. Oh, just as I say that. Oh, that's Tom Dadswell getting nerfed off to the side. He'd started fifth on the grid. And that's going to really thwart his progress early on. He's lost a lot of positions there. Might have damage on that BMW M4. But out front, Josh Thompson, on cold tyres, that Porsche just seems to be so quick and so manageable. What a turnaround. Meanwhile, the Mercedes looking a little bit more nervous.
Through Copse Corner for the first time, and people trying to make moves, but we all know that you're not allowed to make moves around there. A certain team boss has told us that we're not allowed to. So go into Beckett on the exit then to Chapel. Get on the power, down the hanger straight for the first time, past the Porsche Experience Centre on the left-hand side. Slight downhill into Stowe. Carry the speed, you've got to brake and then carry the speed through corner exit, heading towards Club, so through the Vale into Club. And that is a lap of this circuit done already. We expect another 21 laps remaining in this race. I do think it was Mark Fletcher that was the one that dropped down a little bit. So Tom Dadswell's teammate who got caught up at Luffield, and that's why he's down 3 places in this one. And he did make contact with Adam Watson, so 2 Altitude Esports cars getting together in the early goings.
Not so good for that outfit. Great start to the day for Tom Brown. He was top of the order in the Pro-Am qualifying, and he is 8th overall at the moment. Fantastic stuff as well. His teammate Jensen Edriansen, who's been making his way up the Pro-Am standings, he's sitting 5th in the championship right now. He's 2nd in Pro-Am, 12th overall.
You can see on the timing towers we're on board with Pete Harrod, season 7 champion, going its way in the BMW this season. But James Armstrong, you saw in the timing tower, changed position with Tom Dadswell, so moving up a place for the Brabham Esports driver. There he is in shot, and he's got Dadswell and Brown behind. That Porsche, even though it's a Pro-Am driver, is absolutely hounding those 2 cars in front of him. And you do get the feel that that Porsche does have the pace to be able to move ahead of these 2 in front of him.
Well, it does, but the thing is being able to make the overtakes. That's the problem with the Porsche. It's unbelievable over 1 lap, but look at this, right in the draft here of the BMW as well, and it is getting closer and closer. And is he able to get close enough on the brakes? Tom Brown's going to have a big dive up here, and yeah, gets... Oh! Don't do that.
Yeah. Nerf, and then a flash of the headlights. That's a terse flash of the headlights. I mean, Tom Brown, I'll be interested to see whether it was a meeting of lines, because he did come in a bit fast into Stowe, I do think, but it's a question of if Brown went into it was Dadswell, or whether Dadswell came into Brown, or whether it was just a meeting of minds there and both of them going for the same piece of track.
Could have been any. Yeah, that's the thing, is especially in the early stages, everyone's determined not to lose too much ground. Let's have a look then. So Tom Brown is difficult one there, really. Tom Brown did get up over the curb, and that just unsettled it a little bit. Maybe that, but was there enough room given? Probably, but
he made the apex. You know, he made the apex, and you know, I think that was just a racing instant in that sense, for me personally.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not as if he went speeding off into the barrier. Managed to keep going, and just a light brush. But Yeah, you've got to be careful with those side-to-side contacts though, because if you're unlucky, if you just catch a wheel the wrong way and you knock the steering out of alignment, you've got, and what is it now, 35 minutes of driving to do. It's not what you want. Yannis Albert with his, of course, the bear behind his screen there as well. I wonder what, I think he's called All Bear, Neil Bear in the background.
Well, that's something that I think you need to be asking.
We need to ask him, yeah.
Although I would find that a little bit creepy, just having some eyes just staring at you all the time, personally.
No, it's encouraging. It's like having a crew chief. Yeah.
Whenever I'm racing, my crew chiefs are usually, wait, what? Sorry, I was playing another game. That's the level of crew chief I get at Team Mad. As we go into the Vale Club once again. Oh, you want to be careful of those sausage curbs, Tom. Tom Dadswell just clipping the sausage curbs there through Club Corner, and that can cause you some serious problems. It can actually just spear you off to the side of the track if you hit those curbs wrong and cause you some significant damage. But Dadswell just staying as he is at the moment behind Jared Koronic. So things have been pretty calm in this race so far. After that opening couple of laps, we seem to have just calmed down, which is what we like to see, because it is Josh Thompson who leads this one by a quarter of a second over Alex Gall. Then you've got Ross McFarlane, who's already about a second and a half behind Gall. So McFarlane, Davidson, Machuski and Armstrong all together from 3rd to 6th place. Your top pro-am of Tom Brown in 7th place. Here's Simner further down in the order, and where is he exactly? Well, he's P4 in class, so he's actually not having a bad day so far as Richard. 15th place overall, just behind championship leader in Pro-Am Chris van der Ness.
Yeah, strong run so far. At the front, Thompson and Gall quite close together, just a couple of tenths separating them at the moment. There they are, breaking away from the two Pure Sims. Mercedes already a second and a half back to McFarlane and Davison's. Just shows you the advantage that the Porsches have got at the moment. I mean, think back to round one all those months ago, Paul, when Alex Gall was kind of all on his own with the Porsche and had absolutely no pace, but he did have very good fuel economy, and that well.
That got a bit close.
That got more than close. That got up close and very personal there. Josh Thompson will be... That, I think, might have incurred a little bit of damage to at least one, if not both of those cars, because that was a fairly firm impact to the rear of the Porsche, and of course that's where the engine is too.
Yeah, and that can be key, and you can see those Pure Sims cars, when we were looking back from Josh Thompson's car, you can see Josh just working away in his Team Redline gear as they go down the Wellington Straight. Of course, named after the World War II bomber that they used to... this was one of the training venues, was Silverstone, for the Wellington bombers. It wasn't actually a place where they would go off on sorties. It was just where they did the training. So then the bomber pilots and all the people associated with the bombers would then go away to their bases elsewhere.
So it's not to do with knee-length waterproof footwear then?
No.
I take it, even though those are very handy when you go to watch racing at Silverstone, I've found.
Yeah, the thing that you find with Silverstone, I've found over the years, is wind and also the smell of chips. There's always a smell of chips whenever you go to Silverstone.
Yeah, chips and burning rubber.
Ethan Critchley loses
That's just in the car park.
To Jack Sedgwick. Sedgwick working his way through the field. Remember, started at the back of the field. He's gained 8 places so far here, up to 30th overall. And Jack, well, he'll be looking at his next target. His next target is Mark Woodhouse, 29th place. Michael Evdoka a couple of positions in front of Jack as well in 28th. He's gained 11 places after starting at the back due to penalties.
So Jack is on the attack. Jack Sedgwick in the Ferrari had a really good run at Spa last week, second overall. in the Ferrari. A really, really strong outfit. And I always find Jackie's always got he likes to choose the alternate vehicle option. In the first season of the World Touring Car Series, when everybody was choosing a Hyundai Elantra, he's like, no, I'm going in the Honda. And then, of course, here in this World GT Championship, it's a mixture of mainly the German marques, BMW, Mercedes, a little bit of smattering of Porsche, some Audis, but he's gone for the Ferrari. In fact, he's one of only a very small number of Ferraris. Adam Hedgecock is in a Ferrari, but there isn't many more.
No, I think it is just those two down the inside at the loop. And he's done it. I think Matt Woodhouse was like, do you know what, Jack, you have that one, mate. I want to survive this race, because so far this season, I don't think Mark has finished a race with a straight panel on his car. Oh, there's a dive from Michael Avdoka, and behind him as well, Ethan Critchlow was making moves.
Yeah, the fast boys coming through here. You can see Michael Avdoka trying to get some movement, and actually you can see Jack Sedgwick is kind of using Avdoka as a little bit of a front gunner here as well, so he doesn't want to lose contact with the Pure Sims Mercedes driver. He's got a good run here on Michael Gray in the Audi, and I tell you what, these Audi R8 V10, it's a car that's been such a staple of GT racing for goodness, nearly a decade, and it just all seems to be crumbling in front of our eyes. But all the Audi Works drivers are leaving. Doesn't appear to be many programs in place. It seems that F1 has been a kind of vacuum for every other motorsport, it seems, or certainly GT racing. But I guess the R8 road car isn't long for this world either, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, they're bringing out a V10. They're doing like one final V10 R8.
Yeah, I think
car.
The one last R8.
Yeah.
Full stop. Yeah, which is...
because they're doing the same for the Lamborghini as well. They're putting the V10 in the Lamborghini as well for one last hurrah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously Audi's... Obviously, it's a greater group. And, yeah, I guess do you need a Lamborghini GT3 and an Audi GT3? I wonder if we'll see more of that kind of consolidation in some other areas, possibly. But...
that was a bit of a move there, but non-forthcoming. That, I believe, was Ashley Finch. It was, and Paul Crawford saw that the car was coming, but decided against it, did Ashley, and stays behind for the time being. And that's a deep rumble of the Mercedes. You can always tell when these Mercedes are out there on track. Through Brooklands, of course, corner named after the first ever permanent circuit motorsports venue, which was, of course, Brooklands here in the UK. I always joke that Silverstone say that the home of British motorsport. There are other homes of British motorsport as well, it must be said.
I would say it's wherever there's racing is a home. We're lucky to have many different homes. I would say. I mean, obviously, in England, yeah, absolutely spoilt for choice of fantastic circuits: Brands Hatch, Silverstone, Snetterton, Cadwell, and many other smaller ones too. I mean, and up in Scotland, we've just got one. Luckily, we've got an absolute gem.
How dare you miss off Alton Park from that list?
Oh, you don't even need to. If you know, you don't need to shout from the hilltops. It wouldn't be the way.
We've got the first few pit stops happening then. Yannis Albert, Paul Webster deciding that it's better to go early, so maybe they were feeling they were getting stuck in traffic and decided get into some free air and get out, because Jesse Payne Wilkins and Michael Gray, they pitted on the last lap. So we're starting to see some people thinking strategy play here, and it's the right choice. If you think that, and you know that you can go faster but you're stuck behind somebody, you need to make that pit stop and get yourself some free air. Lee Berridge getting Michael Avdoka passing him, and Avdoka's going to get Hedgecock as well. My goodness, 2 positions in 2 corners.
Avdoka is really on it today, isn't he? He's up for this one in that Mercedes, using the straight line grunt of that car to really good effect. There's some brilliant opportunities here at Silverstone to use that to the advantage, and then just kind of cover the line in the corners. But yeah, Avdoka is flying right now. Definitely is he's surely got to be one of our biggest movers so far. Starting right at the back of the field as we ride on board with Jack Sedgwick. Now, I think Yannis Albert, his crew chief, got him to come in and pit early. The Bear, we could call it Jeff, because he races for Brabham, so it could be Jeff the Bear. Yeah. And he's like, my name is Jeff.
Do you know what? Brabham, I have a very, 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 very slight connection to the Brabham thing, because I met Sir Jack Brabham at Alton Park for a Gold Cup event. Oh, God blimey, when was that? Oh, Alex Gall getting close to Josh Thompson at the front. But yeah, it was a number of years ago now, because apparently I'm an old man now. But yeah.
You smelled the Brill cream and just the hair. He's just got the coolest hair, Jack Brabham.
Well, here's the thing. It is the only time that I have ever seen my father, because I went with my father, and it's the only time I've ever seen my father starstruck. He's always been fine with whenever he's met any sort of motorsport or rugby personality, anything like that, he's always been fine. But Sir Jack, because he was the era that my dad sort of grew up with Formula One. Yeah, that was it.
Well, I tell you, spinner! Oh, is it Ben Gregory? Yes, it is. Ben Gregory in the Porsche, the boosted Porsche, goes for a twirl. Not so good. Let's see what happened. Oh, just loses it there. Last part of the circuit. Luckily doesn't hit anything. And gets back going again. But at the front, goodness me, the gap has gone up to 2.5 seconds from Josh Thompson back to championship leader Ross McFarlane. Alex Gall right there. And I tell you what, Alex Gall, if he wants to play it, if he's got the fuel number just right, you never know, he could hop past Josh Thompson.
Well, that's what I was thinking here. I was thinking that he's not actually trying to make any moves. He's just trying to sit there and set. I mean, with these 40-minute races, you're only putting in 10 minutes worth of fuel, really. So it's going to save you about a litre, but that's still time in the pits that you're gaining over the car in front of you.
It is, absolutely, yeah, and it only needs look at what they're separated by. They're separated by nothing, so it just takes a tiny but and could he risk it? Could he risk it and put in maybe a touch less than what he thinks and then try and soft pedal it and hold off Thompson? But would that then bring the Mercedes into play? I mean, we know that in the past, pre-BOP update, pre-Balance of Performance update, the Porsche had not much pace, but fantastic fuel economy. Now, it now has fantastic pace. Does that mean that it doesn't have the fuel economy anymore? We don't know. We're about to find out, I suspect.
Well, just remember that opening round of this season at Barcelona, Alex Gall was,
huge.
7th, 8th place, and just going 2 laps longer on both of his stints got him up into 2nd place. It was a tremendous drive from him. He knew he didn't have the fastest car on the grid, but my goodness, could he work a strategy? Yeah,
absolutely. But does that attribute still exist in the Porsche? That was, a lot has changed since then in the way that the balance is done. So, tantalising as we approach half race distance. And also the question is, who's going to blink first? Could we see Alex Gall go and try and do an undercut possibly? Just duck into pit lane when Josh Thompson's not expecting it, or does he let Thompson pit and move on a lap? It's a real game of chess there at the front as they open up the gap to 3 seconds now. They're just piling the pace on.
I think if you're Alex Gall, you do whatever Josh does and just jump him in the pits. I don't think you try and go an extra lap or try and go a lap under. You try and just go when he goes and jump him in the pits with a shorter fuel fill. So intriguing strategy at play. There's a 10.5 between them at the front. Meanwhile, Jack Sedgwick, he's still on the move here. He's up 15 places now from where he started, up to 23rd overall. Michael Avdoka up 18 places into 21st, just 2 places in front of Jack. So he's really they're really working their way through the grid. Jack, though, running a bit wide out of Beckett's. It's such a crucial corner. The exit of Beckett's into Chapel you've got to carry as much speed as you possibly dare, because you're carrying that all the way down to the store, and there you go. He got a slow down penalty and has decided, I'm coming onto pit road.
It's very clever. And it's going to hold up Lee Bennett, actually. Poor old Lee Bennett is going to have to just settle in behind him, but okay, so we've got first of the fast guys taken in, of course, pit box right there, having started right at the back there for Jack Sedgwick. Check out these fastest lap times though. Fastest lap for Alex Gal, 156.6. Fastest lap for Ross McFarlane, 157.5. There's nearly a second between them. Incredible. Now, taking statistics of being a little bit cheeky of the statistics we're using, if you look at Josh Thompson, his best is a 56.8 because he's not got the draft. Alex Gal does. Alex Davidson does have a draft, 57.2. So even with a draft, and Thompson without a draft, Thompson's still 0.4 of a second quicker than Davidson, who's got a draft. It's mind-boggling, the difference. We very, very rarely see one particular car have such an advantage, but certainly this little mini era we're going through, the 911 GT3R, is dominant.
And when you see Josh Thompson in this type of mood as well, he really does sort of get into that groove, doesn't he? He really gets focused. Oh, he's having to go a bit defensive here against Alex Gal, just having to show the middle of the track and then come back onto the line going into Stir. But Thompson, I think he is feeling the pressure a bit here, but when Thompson is in the mood, he is just somebody who cannot be beaten.
That was the case last week, wasn't it? He was just dominant. He was gone into another postcode. He was parked up and having a cone of chips and mayonnaise before everyone else came into Park Ferme. It was amazing. We've never seen, well, certainly this season, we've never seen dominance quite like it. It was like sort of Luke McEwen-esque from last season. But I think Thompson will be wary, and you can actually see the lap time has dropped off a bit now. McFarlane has brought half a second back, but I think this is because Josh Thompson has seen Alex Gal using less fuel than him behind, and he's having to soft pedal it. I think Thompson is having to soft pedal and make sure that he doesn't get jumped in the pits.
Andy Archer and Matt Woodhouse, the latest two onto pit road, just past the halfway point of this race. It is Josh Thompson in the lead, this one ahead of Alex Gal, with Ross McFarlane about 2.5 seconds behind these two in third place, with his championship rival Alex Davidson in fourth place. Jacob Maczewski and James Armstrong keeping them two honest as well, as we're on board with Alex through Cops Corner. Tom Brown is your top Pro-Am driver, up 3 places in this race so far. And the next Pro-Am is down in 12th place, Jensen Adriansson, who's seen a real turn of form the second half of the season and has really come through. He's just 1 place ahead of Chris van der Ness, who's the Pro-Am Championship leader, in 13th place overall. Your top Am, Jack Osborne, he's 17th place at the moment. And the next Am is Paul Crawford in 22nd place for the Am Championship driver, with Jim Whitehouse in 23rd place overall. So a bit of more of a spread in Am there compared to the Pro-Am and Pro standings. But this one, I think business will pick up once everybody's had their pit stop. They all know where they all stand, and that we can get a real sort of gloves off fight to the end. But Alex Davidson, I think he's playing that strategy play here nicely as well, sitting behind his teammate and championship leader.
Yeah, he is. He really is. And they need to be careful though, because Jakub Maczewski, he's got no championship axe to grind. He just wants to get as far up the order as he can. He's right there as well, just looking very ominous. And James Armstrong in the BMW, we know how quick the BMW is at the moment too, so let's see what he can do. But what a drive from Tom Brown, Pro-Am leader, 7th overall right now. It's a pity he's not really in the championship fight at the moment. Jensen Adriansson's though, 2nd in class. He is 1 place ahead of Chris van der Ness, the championship leader.
Yeah, it's really intriguing. Is this one? Oh, here's Adam Hedgecock. Don't ride that sausage, Adam, with the fish tank in the background. Just really sort of chilled out, and he'll be working his way through Abbey. Now, he must have somebody alongside him there. Well, he's got a car that he's fighting with. It's one of the Full Tilt V Motorsport cars that Adam is working against. That's Phil Samways behind him. These drivers have made their pit stops. Quite a few still have not made their pit stops. But there's Adam giving us a look at how he does things. As there's the chip 2 at the front. Look to the outside from Alex Gall. Oh, I thought there was going to be a bit of contact there between the two of them on the exit of Stur. Now, these two, they don't want to fight too hard, do they? Because that will bring Ross McFarlane and the rest of that gang into this fight. They want to just play it safe, and yes, they want to fight for position, but they don't want to bring them lot in.
I wonder if Gall's just bluffing a little bit. He's just trying to maybe try and force Josh Thompson into a mistake, just making himself known, trying to just get into the head a little bit of his adversary. I mean, they're inseparable on the timesheets. I mean, in qualifying, they were 0.02 of a second apart, as near to make no difference, inseparable. So, you know, you have to maybe try and find another advantage. That's maybe what Alex Gall is doing, and reminding Josh Thompson, saying, yeah, I've been behind you. I've been able to lift off that a little bit earlier into each corner, just using that tiny bit, couple of milliliters of fuel less each corner, each drag down the straight. As, an alternative line there for Gall, trying to get the power down on that Porsche, get that rear engine traction out, really pogoing him out the corner, but Thompson sees it coming straight away, shows a little inside, just trying to make himself known in the mirror there. That's fascinating racing here.
It's really psychological warfare, isn't it, between these two? And it's fantastic to watch because they both want to win. They're both hyper competitive, and these two really will fight to the end. But yeah, Gall is moving about a lot in the mirrors of Josh Thompson. Thompson, though, yeah, he's raced in the Porsche Tacor Esports Super Cup 2 seasons. He knows what it's like to be at that top level of sim racing. Not had it all his own way in the Contender Series, it must be said, but right now he's certainly doing a sterling job with just under 13 minutes remaining. And well, now that's interesting because Ross McFarlane heads onto pit road with Jacob Machursky. Alex Davidson stays out.
Okay, right, game on then. So we got a little bit of strategical difference here then. With 2 minutes around, I would think we'll see the two Porsches in next lap by. But Davidson's got to get this absolutely perfect. Hit his mark, get into the pit stall. No need to reverse back. Yep, he's done it. Wait for the car to fill up. Got the car in first gear, revs ready to shoot off up pit lane and try and get back up to speed as quick as possible. Off they go, and Machursky's going to take him, is he? Oh, they're on top of each other as they come out of pit lane, but Machursky's definitely gained a car length or two in the pits.
Yeah, but he had to back out
of it. That's McFarlane, excuse me. Davidson's kept going, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, but McFarlane, he had to get away and get in front and stay in front of Jacob Machursky. That was important for Ross, I feel, in this pit stop phase. So yeah, we've got a big chunk of people who have been on pit road so far and have taken their service. So we're just waiting the top 7 now in this race to head on down pit road. And wow, this is certainly going to be an intriguing one. We're keeping an eye on Alex Davidson. His pit stop, he needs to be quicker than 11.1 seconds in the pit stall for him to try and jump his teammate Ross McFarlane. Of course, championship leader is Ross McFarlane. Alex Davidson just 10 points behind going into this round. He needs those points right here. 11 minutes remain in this one. The front two, do they head onto pit road this time? Yes, they do. So we're getting the final pit stops here, Peter.
Oh, very exciting then as well. So Josh Thompson in the number 3 Verstappen Redline Porsche with Alex Gall right behind there. That's the two Porsches from the lead then. McFarlane carrying on. Machursky took 0.7 of a second out of McFarlane in the pit stalls there. That's not an insignificant amount. Don't look out for the number 47 of James Armstrong as well, also in the pits in the BMW. He was close. Oh, who's that, Mr. Pitstall?
That was Gall. Alex Gall had to reverse. That's going to cost him the chance of a win. There goes Thompson. And what about Davidson? Now, where's Davidson going to come out in all of this? Because he's got a long pit stop as Davidson, I do feel. They're coming out. There's Davidson, and he's behind Machuski in all of this. He's almost got Tom Brown with him. So what on earth has happened to Alex Davidson? He was an extra 5-6 seconds over his teammate, Ross McFarlane.
That's bizarre. It's got to be a mistake in the pits. It's got to be. Did we see him miss his pit stall? But that was time in the stall. That's very strange. Has he? It almost seems like a crew chief error. Has he put too much fuel in? That's really strange. Yeah,
it is bizarre, but it does mean that Ross McFarlane now has got a driver between him and his teammate that he's fighting for in the championship, getting him some valuable points there. So McFarlane keeps it in fourth place. Well, actually, I say keeps it in fourth place. He's dropped down to fourth place from the pit stop because James Armstrong jumped them all and is up into third place there for Brabham Esports in his BMW. So things have changed up here in this race. It's the first of 2 races tonight, so do not go anywhere, folks, because if this one's been exciting, the next one's got a reverse grid draw. But we can tell you now, the standings as they are, Josh Thompson has a 2-second lead over Alex Gall at the front of the field. James Armstrong, you see there on screen, is in third place ahead of Pro Championship leader Ross McFarlane with Jacob Machuski and Alex Davidson in 6th place. Tom Brown is the top Pro-Am still. He's kept it up there and he's in 7th place. Jensen Adriansons is the next best Pro-Am driver in 12th place. And then Chris van der Ness has actually lost a place to Jonas Albert. Is down to 14th for Pro-Am. So that's how the Pro-Am stand. Am drivers, Jack Osborne is in 20th place now. He's lost a couple of places in this race, ahead of Paul Crawford, who's in 26th. And Adam Hedgecock actually is your next best Am in 3rd place in Am, but 30th place overall in this race. But we've got 8 minutes remaining here, Peter. And really, Ross McFarlane, he wants to keep Jacob Machuski behind him.
Oh, you bet he does as well. That's fascinating looking at the pit stop times there as well. So it does seem that still the Porsche, not only have the Porsche's got amazing speed, they've got frugality as well. They didn't have to be in pit lane for as long. They could make the tank run longer. Amazing. Absolutely amazing stuff. The only explanation I can think of for Alex Davidson when the time in the pit stall was an error in how much fuel's gone in, a miscalculation, a total blunder, whatever way you look at it. Unless he's had a tyre left to click or something, we don't know, but it's very, very odd. And Alex Gall, he will be furious because his fuel, he was in the pit for exactly the same amount of time as Josh Thompson. He had the pace to win and he threw it away. Touched a real important point of execution and he fluffed it.
He has gained slightly on Josh though in this last lap, so he has been gaining a little bit. I don't think he'll gain enough to be able to be fighting for the lead towards the end. He needs to be about a second, 1.1 seconds to be really gaining any slipstream, does Alex. So he needs to find him for 3 or 4 tenths of a second to give himself any hope of getting onto the back of Josh Thompson's Porsche at the front of the field. More fighting going on further down in your field. This is one of the boosted Virage cars with DCW Racing car behind, out of the final corner once again. And boosted Virage, they've had a bit of an indifferent season this season. They did have Tim Perry win a race at Daytona, but then other than that, it's really just been a case of not going all their own way here this season. But Tim, as you can see on screen right now, in 16th place with Richard Simner behind. So those two duking it out, and then you've got a whole smorgasbord of Century Sim Racing cars behind those two. So be careful, don't fight each other, or else the Century Sim boys will come for you.
They will. They will. They come armed with toilet roll. They're going to TP the place if you're not careful. 5 minutes to go here in this first feature race. I've broken Paul Smith. I'm terribly sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Alex Galley is on the charge here, plus 1.3 seconds now from Josh Thompson. And yeah, 0.4 of a second he took out of Thompson there, Paul.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not traffic because there's nobody who's been lapped here in this race. Thompson, it's just pure and pure pace is that from Alex Gall that's catching up. Or maybe Thompson has maybe not put quite as much fuel like you were thinking of, maybe just under fueling slightly and then just soft pedaling it to save that fuel. Maybe he's having to save himself some more fuel being out at the front there and just having to back off a little bit, or maybe he's trying to manipulate it so the last lap doesn't get an extra lap put in to the books, because that could have an effect on some drivers. We've seen it in the past in this series, this season as well. We've seen that where the extra lap has come up because the leaders had such a pace and some drivers haven't quite got the calculations right.
Well, but see, it all depends on when the leader comes over the line too as well. And here at Silverstone, it's a big use of fuel for each lap. You know, nearly 2 minutes around, and yeah, using a heck of a lot of fuel. Again, Josh Thompson losing 0.3 of a second. The time in the stall between the two leaders, Thompson and Gall, was absolutely identical. So if you forget Alex Gall missing his stall, when they were actually in the stall, they took on the same amount of fuel. That would indicate to me, given that Alex Gall definitely used less, that would mean that Thompson is risking it.
Well, he's doing all that he can to try and keep at the front. 3 minutes and 17 seconds remain for Josh. Should have, at the end of this lap, 2 laps remaining in this race. I do implore anybody who is a motorsport fan, go to Silverstone, and if they're running the full Grand Prix layout, do stand on the entry to Maggots Beckett's, or even on the exit of Beckett. It's just spectacular. You see these motor vehicles going through there. You think they're going to lose control, and they just absolutely stick. I do remember seeing the World Endurance Championship doing a practice day at Silverstone, and those prototypes, it was back when we had the hybrid prototypes of the 919 and the Toyota, and they just absolutely stuck through that section of track. It is an incredible piece of track to watch top flight motor cars at their absolute pinnacle.
It is, yeah. It's a really super place to watch. People say, "Oh, it's flat." Doesn't matter. It's a great layout, and yeah, you get a great facilities, great place to go and watch motorsport as well. You need to have a good pair of walking shoes on to get yourself around, but no, it's a really good facility. Alex Gall took another 0.2 of a second last time by as well. Paul Webster gets a little bit lively there, coming around behind Chris van der Ness. And of course, this very much matters for the championship. Van der Ness leading the Pro-Am Championship, excuse me. Paul Webster 50 points back, so he could really do with taking some points off Van der Ness here.
Yeah, he could. Van der Ness, I think, can sort of, if Paul sticks one in there like
that's
he does in the Audi. Look at the last of the late breakers. My goodness, that's got some good brakes in that R8. Fantastic stuff. He held the apex there. I thought he was going to go off into the weeds then for a moment with how fast he came into Brooklyn. But my goodness, that's a good move. And I was about to say, I think Van der Ness might play it safe and think, do you know what? If you're that desperate, go on.
Well, I do think there was quite a bit of cooperation there from Van der Ness. It was a bit of a late dive bomb block pass there from Webster. Absolutely clean, absolutely fine, but Van der Ness definitely did give the racing room to keep himself in. Of course, Van der Ness can afford to give away a point or two. Oh, that's a costly mistake there for Gall. You warned her, don't ride the sausage.
Yeah, you stay away from the sausage, especially if it's at a buffet breakfast. But as he goes through the right and then the left, And yeah, Gal, that's cost him half a second at a minimum, just the hitting those curbs at Club Corner. I think Thompson will breathe a sigh of relief at the end of this race. I mean, he's still got half a lap, 3/4 of a lap to go yet, though. Mistake could still happen here. But yeah, he's got a nice 1.3 second lead over Alex Gal. But tremendous effort from Alex to be able to catch that up that time. He's not giving it up either, Peter. He's still giving it a go.
No, and he will be furious with himself, I'm sure, with Alex Gal. That was his big opportunity to get a win on the board for himself and for Maradna Satellite E-Stars. And it's all in butts and maybes, but if he'd hit that pit stop, if he'd hit that pit box, he would have been right there on top of Thompson. And, you know, with the fuel, Thompson's definitely having to soft pedal here to try and get the car to the end on the tank of fuel that he has. But just look how planted that Porsche is as well, the downforce it generates. The GT car has got no business doing that. You can see why Porsche chose to launch the new GT3 RS road car, which has got, you know, all-time leading levels of downforce for a car with number plates. And yeah, you can see why they chose Silverstone for that.
Well, Josh Thompson, he has led all the way in this opening race of the evening, but he's not had it all his own way, that is for sure. But here he comes then through the Vale into Club Corner for the final time in this first race of the evening. And Josh Thompson is once again a race winner, 2 weeks in a row for him, getting a victory. He'll be happy with that. No emotion on his face there. You'd think he'd be happy with that win. But Alex Gal, a hearty effort in second place. Here's Tom Brown. There's a slow car. Alex Davidson is slow across the line. He's lost 2, possibly 3 places at the finish there. That's huge for the championship. And that, once again, Peter, fuel. I said that it was going to be close for some drivers, and Alex Davidson, should I say, has done it. Jack Osborne worth pointing out, your winner in AM as well as Tom Brown for Pro-Am. But that is huge for the Pro Championship there with Alex Davidson.
I'm flabbergasted because, well, so what on earth was going on in the pit stop? Everyone else was taking around 10 seconds. He took 16 seconds in the pit stall, but he runs out of fuel. The plot thickens. What is going on in that room for the 555 of Alex Davidson? That is just leaves a massive free kick to Mark Farland there. 4th place, 8th place. The only thing that Davidson can hope for now is a very advantageous reverse grid and a good charge through the pack.
My goodness, talk about drama at the end there. Absolutely sensational stuff for us. The last of the drivers has come across the line, so we get to see the reverse grid draw here. We just get to see this 3 more times this season. Of course, next week is 3 sprint races, and this is going to be a big one, is it potentially, or is it going to tick over? Oh, I think this might tick over, you know. And it's not going to be quite as big. It's going to be 22. Wait for the confirmation to come up on screen, which it does round about now. Question mark? There we go. 22 is your reverse grid. So we'll give you that once we go through your opening race results here in the World GT Championship. And it is Josh Thompson who wins by 1.6 seconds over Alex Gal. Great effort from Alex, but just too much to ask for him. James Armstrong from Brabham Esports, tremendous effort in the BMW to get himself a podium here tonight, with Ross McFarlane in 4th place ahead of Jacob Maczewski. Tom Brown for Indy Autosport Red is your top Pro-Am driver here today in 6th place ahead of Adam Watson. Alex Davidson, running out of fuel, ends up in 8th place ahead of Tom Dadswell and Jared Corona. Matt Fletcher in 11th ahead of Jensen Adrianson. 2nd place Pro-Am in 12th place. Yannis Albert ahead of Paul Webster, getting himself a Pro-Am podium here in this race in 14th. Chris van der Ness, your Pro-Am Championship leader, right behind him in 15th, with Tim Perry, Richard Simner, Andy Arch, Pete Harrod, and then your winning AM driver, Jack Osborne for Century Sim Racing. Jack Sedgwick will be sharing the front row of the grid for the second race, along with pole sitter Mark Hutchinson. 22 was the reverse grid, and the Evo SR driver will get pole position for the second race of the evening. Ethan Critchlow will be cursing that, having finished 23rd ahead of Michael Ovdoka. Ashley Fitch, Ben Gregory, Paul Crawford, Lee Berridge, Matt Woodhouse and Phil Samways round out your top 30. A look at that sea of blue for the AMs there for the rest of the field, because it's Adam Hedgecock ahead of Jim Whitehouse, Andy Gilmore, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Patrick Faulkner ahead of Martin de Jong, who of course had a spin on the opening lap of this race, managed to get himself 36th in the end ahead of Lars van Rijn. Michael Blake, Timothy van der Broek and Brian Sun down there, and then 41st for Michael Gray. Every driver on the lead lap. Andy Shield did not take the start. Well, Peter, it's been one heck of an evening so far, and we've got another race to go yet.
Yeah, that was all a matter of execution there. The guys at the front were all, well, they were kind of in their little pockets. The two Porsches were out on their own, inseparable on pace. Execution wise, Josh Thompson nailed it. Alex Gall dropped the ball. Exactly the same with our two championship contenders, with Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson. Ross McFarlane clean run through, no mistakes, whether that be on track or in the pits. Alex Davidson, no on track mistakes, but what happened in the pits? It wasn't overfueling as we thought it might have been. So what on earth happened? Did he put tyres on? It's a mystery.
We don't know that for sure. I'm sure we'll find out from the drivers themselves at some point. But tremendous drive from Josh Thompson at the front. You said it there. He executed it absolutely perfectly, but he did not have it easy, did he? Alex Gall was right there with him, and I think that's just that little level of experience of being working at a pro level that Josh showed over Alex.
Yeah, I think so, and I think just Josh is on a purple patch of form at the moment, and when it's going right, it's just everything goes for you, you know. And he definitely did the job. And Alex Gall, he'll be bitterly disappointed, because with the way that it was running, you kind of wanted, as they went into the pitch, you wanted to be in Gall's position, really, because he definitely used less fuel than Thompson, as we saw from the way the race played out. So, he'll be gutted.
They will be gutted, but what it does mean is that it's a relatively small reverse grid for them, and one driver who will be particularly delighted with that after starting at the back, Jack Sedgwick, was able to work that nicely, got him up into 21st place. That means he gets the front row of the grid for the second race. Could we be seeing a Ferrari victory here this season? Because so far this season, we've not had one.
I think it's the best chance, isn't it? But watch out for Mark Hutchison, you know, our Pro-Am champion. He had he's dropped points to his championship rivals in the Pro-Am class in that race one. This is a golden, platinum combined opportunity here, starting from the front row, avoiding all the inevitable chaos behind you. This is a time, we saw him do it last season where he got his Pro-Am championship, where he made the most of his reverse grids. This is the time for Mark Hutchison to step up and put that Evo SR Mercedes on the box.
Speaking of Pro-Am, Tom Brown, tremendous result, finished up in 6th place in the end, 4 places gained in that race. I mean, yes, he was in the Porsche, but you've still got to pedal the car, and he did a tremendous job here today. Okay, he had that little bit of a coming together, didn't he, with Tom Dadswell through Stowe Corner, where they came that side-to-side contact. But other than that, really, he was just on it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, and I think you could put that down to a racing incident. I would say he put the move there, the gap was there, he went for it. You know, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was an overly ambitious move. So yeah, I think you really top props there to Tom Brown, because not just a Pro-Am winner, he's 6th overall. That's amazing at this level to do that. And again, these Indy Autosport guys, they put in a lot of effort. They put in a huge amount of testing, lots and lots of laps. They work closely together. Adriansons, Kevin Kittelman, etc. They really put the time in. So when things do kind of come together, it really comes together, and they get the results. We've seen Jensen Adriansons have standout performances as well.
I think one thing that I did notice from those results in the first race, Jack Osborne finishing 20th overall to take an AM win here, but you looked at the number of AM drivers that were further down that standings there. Was it basically a case of that just shows why this championship goes and separates those drivers out into different into their own championships? Because a circuit like this, you need to be absolutely inch perfect through these high-speed corners, and I think with the results that first race, I think we did see that with the AM drivers.
Yeah, that was the point I would make, is it's the circuit. You know, Silverstone is a real driver's circuit, and you know, you don't really get any fluky winners at Silverstone, not very often anyway. It's I mean, you look at the form book in Formula One over the last 10 years. It's often been the top car, the top driver who's come out on top, and it's exactly the same here. I would say that there was only one Pro-Am really mixing it with the top guys, and that was Tom Brown. So even the Pro-Ams weren't really getting up there in the top 10 fight. So yeah, definitely, if you want pure proof that Silverstone is a proper driver's circuit and driver's challenge and really finds the best driver on the day, that's it.
Breaking news through all of this is we are going to be missing Michael Evdoka from the grid on the second race. He's not feeling too well, and he feels that he's too unwell to race in the second race. And to be fair play to him to withdraw from the race, because so often motorsport drivers will think, I can tough it out, I'll be fine. But if you are not feeling up to it, you don't want to be a danger to other drivers out there on track. And fair play to Michael to say, do you know what? Yeah, I can't do another race.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he drove very well. He drove
even more so, considering that he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to, if you're not, to go and give it a go, and then I think he'll have had fun. Pure Sims are confirmed. I mean, they're top of the shop by a mile in the team championship. He doesn't need to worry about that. His two teammates, he's not in the drivers' championship fight, so I think he'll have had a little bit of fun and then back off to his bed. So get well soon, Michael. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best wishes from us here at RaceSpotTV. We are getting ourselves prepared for the second race. You can see the clock in the top corner there, so we're just in the warm-up session before the second race of the evening, so we've a pretty quick turnaround here tonight, which is what we like to see. It means that people have to put up with me and you less, Peter. But what it does mean is we get back to the action so much sooner as well. Race number 2 then, we've not got quite as big a reverse grid as we have seen in the past here in the championship. If you're Alex Davidson, are you sort of thinking, oh good, it gives me a chance of moving forward quicker and getting into those bigger points playing positions? Or are you thinking, Ross is not that far behind me here, he's going to be scoring some big points as well, potentially?
Well, Davidson's really got to get a move on. He's got to get a good start and start making moves and go for it. It's now or never. He came into this round 10 points behind, which is such a slender margin. He's given away a few points to McFarlane there in that race. He can't have really afford to give too many more going into next week's finale. Really wants to try and get some points on the board. Podium, is that what he's going to look for here, would you say it quietly? It's like, it's going to be
difficult. It's going to be difficult, is that, to be fair, because there are some quick drivers in front of him in this second race. And it's worth pointing out as well, this is the final round where a drop score can come into effect, because next week, whatever points you score, you take to that final championship standings. It makes our lives a lot easier here in the commentary box because we don't have to get the abacus out to see, oh, well, does that count as a drop score? You know, we know where we stand then for next week. So this is the last chance. If you're going to have a bad week in this championship, you've got to have it now.
Yeah, I think he's, and I wouldn't say this is a bad week, really.
No.
I wouldn't say so. It's just giving just a tiny few points away to McFarlane, and that'll sting. That'll sting. He really needs to try and recover those in this race.
And Bickley Motorsports, thank you very much for pointing out. Peter, you remind them of Alan McNish. So there you go.
It's very kind of you.
I'm sure you would have liked his bank account.
Yes, from what I've heard, yes. Yeah, no, that's very, very, very kind. He's a big hero of mine, so I appreciate that.
And a top commentator as well. I mean, he wasn't a bad peddler, was he? But he's a good commentator. So.
Well, I mean, I've recently watched a lot of his races back, and some of the performances where when the chips are down, you wouldn't want to put many other people in your car than Alan McNish. You know, I remember the last race of the Audi R8 at Lime Rock in 2006, and they couldn't pit because the pits were actually blocked under yellow, and then they went back to green, so they had to pit under green, which at Lime Rock's a disaster. Yeah. And but Alan just refused to accept losing and just lifted the car up on his shoulder and dragged it to a win. You know, it's he was a gritty competitor. So yeah, very 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 proud to say he's from our dear nation.
Absolutely. Well, there's one proud Scot talking about another very proud Scot. But now let's take you to your grid then for the second race. And it is Hutchinson who's on pole position with Jack Sedgwick alongside him. Jack Osborne's got a tremendous opportunity to get some good points in the AM Championship, sharing that second row with Pete Harrod, Andy Archer and Richard Simner on row number 3. Tim Perry and Chris Van Der Ness, row 4 ahead of Paul Webster and Jan Solberg on row 5. Row 6 for Jensen Adriansons and Matt Fletcher. 7th row of the grid for Jared Caroni and Tom Dadswell, with Alex Davidson and Adam Watson sharing row number 8. Row 9 for Tom Brown and Jacob Machuski. 10th row of the grid, Ross McFarlane and James Armstrong, and then the front of the field in race number 1, Alex Gall and Josh Thompson then on row number 11. Row 12 for Ethan Critchley and Ashla Finch. Everybody else starting where they finished. So Gregory Crawford with Berridge and Woodhouse, Samways and Hedgecock down to 30th place, with Whitehouse and Gilmore. Jessica Wilkins ahead of alongside Patrick Faulkner, Martin de Jong, Lars van Rijn. Michael Blake, Timothy van der Broek, Brian Sun and Michael Gray round out your 40-car grid. We are missing Andy Shield and, of course, Michael Evdoka, but the Chevy Silverado heads on to pit road. Hopefully we don't get to see that again now this evening. Mark Hutchinson, Pro Evo SR, his current Pro-Am champion. He'll be looking for another championship, but he's going to have it difficult against his teammate. Out of Club Corner they will go, and he's going to go late, is Mark. He's holding them back, really piling them up, and look at everyone just stacking up behind. They're all having to fed out. We're almost 6 wide on the exit of Club Corner, heading down to the Abbey. Turn right, then turn left. They've got a car. That's an Altitude Esports car flying off the track. There's a Brabham Esports car going off-roading as well. But Jack Sedgwick around the outside. He's going to have the inside for the loop, and that takes Sedgwick to the lead of this race. Hutchinson, there's tyre smoke. There's a yellow Solberg sideways at the exit outside of the loop. But we're still staying green flag racing here down the Wellington Straight for the first time. And there's even more cars off. That's Ben Gregory and Paul Webster. Paul Webster, he's not had a good season at all this year, and he's dropping down the order. Oh, that's Van Der Ness! Van Der Ness, your Pro-Am Championship leader coming into this week. He's now going off at Luffield. It's absolute carnage here at Silverstone.
Oh dear, Van den Esch looking like he rejoined the track at a 90 degree angle, excuse me. Not good at all there, but Cedric getting clean out front. Hutchison there in second, Paul.
Alex Davidson is at the bottom of the timing screen, and I think he is out of this race. My goodness, that is going to have huge implications in terms of the Pro Championship.
I tell you what, it was a really messy start. Went from 2x2 to 2-6-4-1. It was all over the place, that race start. And when that happens, you just know, you just wait for the inevitable. In that opening arena section, there's a lot of switchbacks, and it was just chaos there as well. But Josh Thompson making moves. He's up to 12th already. He's been up 10 places, not even at the end of lap 1. Amazing. He's just in a purple patch of form. McFarlane, he's survived. He's got through. He's in 14th. He's made up a good chunk of places as well.
It is confirmed. Internet problems for Alex Davidson has dropped him out of this race. So he has dropped out. When you're fighting for a championship, things like that you do not want to see. Yannis Albert, Chris Van den Esch, Andy Gilmore, Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Ben Gregory, all on pit road having to get repairs done to their cars. Oh my goodness, 5 cars headed to pit road on this opening lap due to damage.
It's not been wasn't a good race 1 for Jesse Payne-Wilkins. Well, it's been a disastrous race 2, because look who is leading the AM class in 4th overall is your AM Championship leader, Jack Osborne. This is for Century Sim Racing. This has been a great day at the office so far here at Silverstone. So Cedric leads by 1.1 seconds from Mark Hutchison, who looks set to bring in a huge haul of points where he is right now. Came into this round 26 points behind, dropped some points to Van den Esch in race 1. He's about to gather them all back up again.
As we go through Cops once again, and these drivers absolute high speeds. Jack Cedric, though, he's running away at the front. He's trying to gap out the rest of the field as much as he can. Here's Adam Watson trying to make moves through the Beckett's Chapel section of the track, and he's got Jared Carone and Josh Thompson right behind him. Thompson has been... that's a late defence there from Watson. That's borderline, is that defence there. Almost had an aircraft accident there between the two of them. It was that late. Onto the brakes, Machuski we're on board with. We've got a car alongside, which is Thompson, and around goes Simner. Does get going again. Well, drops down a number of places, does Richard Simner. It's all been a bit messy as the start of this race.
Yeah, pure Richard Simner there, just getting full throttled, just shoved out the way. It is, elbows out here. You can tell we're at the pointy end of the championship. Big move up the inside there from James Armstrong on Ross McFarlane. So McFarlane drops a spot, or does he, as they switch back? With problems ahead. And actually, McFarlane, does he get it back as they go through Aintree? Gives Armstrong the room, could have shoved him out, didn't do so. Down they go towards Brooklands as well. And for McFarlane, he doesn't need to take any risk now as well. Just get this car to the finish. But he's getting in the middle of a 3 wide there. It's a Pure Sims sandwich. Not a bread sandwich, because you don't have a bread sandwich, do you? All sandwiches are bread.
My goodness, Ethan Critchley, Ross McFarlane and James Armstrong all came in towards Brooklands together there, and left, right, Critchley to the inside of Cops. You can't make an overtake there, and here comes James Armstrong, the two of them rubbing door panels side by side, and look, Alex Gall now coming into this one. McFarlane's lost 2-3 spots in one move.
That was a bit over the line there, I would say, from Ethan Critchley. He ran McFarlane right out onto the paint and more. So, but yeah, McFarlane, he'll just keep that one noted. Critchley definitely on the charge in the number 97. Alex Gall making moves, but again, McFarlane doesn't need to worry about any of these guys. Get it to the finish, let the C part in front of you, and score a huge chunk of points. He'll know exactly what's happened to his teammate Alex Davison. It's all big spin in the background there. A big crash at Stowe.
And that's Jim Whitehouse. I have a funny feeling that he was helped there, was James, with just the smoke and the speed that the car went across the back of the shot there. It's definitely an assisted manoeuvre onto the runoff there. Adam Watson down the inside of Tim Perry, and through he goes into 7th place. Perry, though, trying to fight that one back. There's Watson. Oh, there's a car spun round further back at the loop. It's Jared Caroni. Caroni's been around, so he's had contact now.
Oh dear, so it's an eventful day, so eventful race for the Maradna Satellite E-Stars cars then. Goodness me, the pack so much more condensed than it was at this stage of race 1 after 7 minutes of running. I wonder, Paul, if we'll see some drivers take an early dive to pit lane, maybe just get the 30-minute to go mark. The pit window will open. I think we might see some takers at that point to try and get out of this melee, because there's going to be several drivers who are multiple seconds off their best pace.
Yeah, it's... You want to get yourself out of that traffic. You're absolutely right there, Peter. I mean, we did see it to a degree in the first race in the evening as well, but I think it could be more so in this one. It's been absolute carnage out there and chaos, but what I can tell you is Jack Sedgwick is currently the leader. Oh, and it's going to be a slowdown penalty for Mark Hutchinson down the Hanger Straight. That means he's either cut across the inside of the final part of Beckett's or the final corner of that sequence at Chapel, but it drops him down, so down to 6th place for Mark, and there's Watson down the inside. I mean, we know he's the last of the late breakers. I saw some smoke in the background of shot then. There was a Porsche around. Who was it? We've got multiple cars showing yellow flags. It's Josh Thompson, and Thompson is out of the race. He's done.
Wow. What is going on here in this second race? And you know, I was just going to say with Hutchison, he's like, well, he's got Watson +0. That's not what he wanted to see. Well, that's what's happened. Adam Watson, we know he's full attack. We know he's all action, but I would say, Paul, do you know what I'm going to say? He's been a bit over the mark in this second race. He's not alone, though.
Well, I can tell you that Thompson I think he got collected and then immediately just decided, right, no, I'm done, and left the server, because he almost immediately disconnected from the server. So that tells you what he thought of that in the second race. I was trying to go through a bit of the order. Now here we go. Here's what happened then. So it's down the inside is Perry. Just the slightest of contact, and then Thompson goes, do you know what? I'm done.
Well, I mean, the door was wide open. But yeah, when you get clipped on the brakes at the very rear corner panel, then yeah, I can see why you'd be frustrated. And yeah, if you're in Tim Perry's position, do you need to go for a move on the guy that won the last race by a handful of seconds? Probably not. But yeah, it's so difficult for the drivers. I mean, for anyone watching who's got experience on the iRacing server, it's so hot and heavy. Oh, as you're in the middle of any battle, but this is really, really fierce. So you've got to have it's kind of push or be pushed here.
Yeah, Tom Dadswell just pushed his way through on Jack Osborne. That was almost being a bit rude, if you ask me. That was almost like Pierre Gasly yesterday in the Grand Prix, just forcing the other car off track. So I'm sure that Jack Osborne will be looking at putting a protest in on that one. I think the stewards are going to have a much busier time for the second race than they did the first race, because the first race, the drivers were all nice and calm and really good racing. Then the second race, they seem to have just taken a silly pill, and there you go. It's all gloves off.
Well. Yeah, I mean, race 1 was tiddlywinks and lawn bowling all in one compared to this. So this was the start. This is where it all went wrong. That is a mess. They should be 2x2. They're about 6x3x8 there. absolute disaster, and that's where it all starts. So then we're going through, and yeah, all arms and elbows.
So that was Mark Fletcher getting caught up in all of that. Then we move forward then to one of the Brabham cars, which is Yannis Albert, and it's going to be contact going into the loop. So it wasn't even at the loop, it was going into the loop where Yannis Albert gets contact. Ben Gregory then gets something happen after there. Through Aintree they go, and it's a DCW car that he goes off. There's another car. Oh, that's what happened to Paul Webster. He had his own issue, did Paul, and then just the innocent party gets collected all of that. Here's what happened to Chris van der Ness at Luffield. This is again still on that one, and bang, another DCW car. My goodness, those DCW racing cars seem to have magnets put in their in the bumpers in this race. As down the Hanger Straight, then this is what happened to Jim Whitehouse, and yep, it was assisted.
Not a great deal he could have done about that. It just nerfed off the road. So this is Tom Brown we're looking at now with Machuski up the hit. Oh, Coroni, excuse me. And yeah, this sort of puts up the inside there. Again, it just seems if you're going to leave space, people will take it. The elbows are so sharp tonight, and so this Ben Gregory. Oh no, there wasn't
Jesse Payne
space.
Wilkins.
Okay, so Jesse Payne Wilkins' horror show night continues.
And then again, this is what happened to Thompson. There was actually another incident that happened at the same time as well, just behind Thompson, getting collected by Tim Perry, and it's this one here. So looking into club, and it's Get on the Grass from one of the Altitude Esports BMWs, and the Indy Autosport red car gets collected, and it's Mark Fletcher. I said he's a nice guy, is Mark, but unfortunately he's just got caught up and ended up making a mistake into the braking zone.
A shame.
And still we carry on with the replays. It's been hard to keep up with. You have the live pictures in the bottom corner. This is Paul Webster through Copse Corner, and that is not the line to take through Copse. Ends up into the wall, and that's going to be Paul Webster's race done, and I think he'll be feeling his championship. Oh my goodness, we've got a James Armstrong onto the grass down the Hanger Straight. Take a breath. Mark Hutchinson losing that position then to Armstrong. Oh, it's just gone absolutely balmy.
He's got McFarlane's taken an early pit stop. McFarlane's thought, I'm going nowhere near this. That's a super smart play. I think that's pretty much as early as you could want to go, give or take a lap or two. So McFarlane's gone, you know what, I'm losing so much time here behind this melee. Let's get into some fresh air. Silverstone's a big track. That's really smart strategy from McFarlane, because not only is he not putting his pace down, it's a huge risk of having a massive pile-up in front of him.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another half-hearted move. Bang.
Yeah, that was Critchley.
Again? No? Okay.
Yeah, Ethan Critchley, he's been, I think he's been one that's been at the Kool-Aid this evening for the second race, because he's been throwing some moves. Worth pointing out.
Pepper Mashy out.
Worth pointing out, by the way, I was about to say Jack Osborne's up in 7th place, but he's not anymore. He's in 9th. He's just been overtaken by Tom Brown and by Alex Gall. So Gall has been on the move, up 13 places from where he started. Jacob Machuski, by the way, 12 places gained, up into 6th place. So Jacob really getting some moves done. But Jack Sedgwick, 6.3 seconds in the lead right now. Sedgwick in his Ferrari is very, very comfortable.
Yeah, he is. But you know, we're going to have big moves in the AM and the Pro-Am Championships. You know, Paul Andy Archer, 3rd overall at the moment. Now, he came into this round just in 4th, but 54 points behind Van der Ness. Van der Ness is having a horror show in this second race here as well. Hutchison, he's still in it. He's up there in 11th, so he could score some good points. But the Pro-Am, it's going to go into the last round, I think. Absolutely stacked on top of one another. In AM, though, on the other hand, Jack Osborne, he's having a dream day at the office. 9th overall at the moment in the AM class. Jesse Payne-Wilkins in second is having a horror show. Martin de Jong's not on the pace. Adam Hedgecock could climb a couple of places as well. He came in 100 points behind. So it's all happening. It's all moving. This penultimate round has been huge, just huge swings of momentum.
Speaking of Adam Hedgecock, he heads on to pit road along with Jensen Adriansen. So they decide that now is the time to get their pit stops done. And yeah, they go and hit their pit stalls. Got to be careful to get onto your marks correctly, and then going on to carry on in this race. Hedgecock with 11.7 seconds in the stall, and Adriansen's will come out 1/10 of a second longer in the pit stall for Jensen Adriansen's compared to Hedgecock. As here we see Adam Watson and Jacob Machuski. Now these are two quick drivers. The thing is, Watson in this race has been a bit wild with that speed. Machuski, he's somebody who's been competing in the Porsche Esports Contender Series. He knows what it takes to race against some high level drivers, but he knows what it takes to try and survive things as well here, Peter, because these two, they are so quick. That Audi, though, is looking wild here in the second race.
Yeah, it's looking wild, and yeah, Adam's certainly on one of his more excitable days, I think it has to be said. And yeah, here we go again. Big move to the right, and then jinks across, really putting the on the borderline of what's acceptable, like movement-wise on the straight. But Machuski not fast at all, straight round the outside, and then on the brakes hard for the chicane. But Watson's not going to let him have it, and wow, stern defence there from Watson, making sure Machuski went behind. I mean, Watson just pulls off these just moves of, sometimes it's genius, sometimes it's not so genius, but there's always excitement.
Well, they do say that the borderline between genius and madness is very fine, and I think we're seeing a bit of both
he
here
walks that line,
in this one. But Alex Gall,
lovable rogue, so he is.
Alex Gall in all of this is just like, well, come on, chaps, if you could make a move, I want to try and get a good result here once again. But he's got his teammate in front of him as Alex, and that's where things get a little bit tricky. The last person you want to have contact with is your teammate, and Adam Watson, once again, that Audi left, right, trying everything he can to defend, but I think Machuski has got this one, as he no, he hasn't, and Gall is saying, all right, come on guys, let's stop playing games.
We know how much pace Gall's got. He's got a great run there as they head through Woodcote now as well, right underneath the rear wing of his teammate in the Mercedes. They head up towards Cox, a really fast corner here as well. And Mercedes up the inside, and boof. Oh, that'll do it. Oh dear.
I think that was all too inevitable. I think is what I would say about that then. And yeah, oh my goodness, that's Tom Brown. Tom Brown and Jacob Machuski getting together. So Machuski hasn't got out lightly from that contact with Adam Watson at Copse Corner. Brown's obviously got a run on him, and then there's contact between the two of them. I think we'd need to see another look at that one to be able to sort of try and pick the pieces on that one, really.
Paul, I can say we're not even at half race distance yet.
Yes.
How are we gonna last? I mean, well held from Adam Watson, to be fair. So what on earth happened here? Oh, that happened.
Now, the question is Brown alongside far enough to be making that move?
Isn't. You're being kind. No, he's not. Nerve.
And Machuski, I mean, fortunately for these drivers, there is plenty of runoff around this track. If that was somewhere like Road Atlanta, for instance, you'd be in a wall.
You'd be in Flowery Branch, Georgia. You'd be halfway up a tree at Road Atlanta if you did that.
As Watson has come onto pit road, by the way, along with Jacob Machuski, so they are taking
Someone
their
give him a damp cloth, calm him down.
Has somebody got one of those squirty bottles that you spray at a dog when it's getting a bit excitable? So, calm down!
A shock collar. We need an Adam Watson shock collar.
Right, anyway, we are past halfway distance now. And for the lack of action that we had in the first race, I think we've had more than enough in the second race. Unfortunately, it's not the good type of action, in my opinion. But looking at this as things stand at the moment, Jack Sedgwick now 9.5 seconds is that lead over Tom Dadswell. That is absolutely incredible that he has got the lead by so much at the front of the field. Dadswell is just ahead of Pete Harrod, which we're seeing right here now, who's just ahead of Andy Archer. Alex Gall, through all of that mayhem, is in 5th place now. He's gained 16 positions in this race. I think he's looking good for a podium finish once again, is Alex. James Armstrong, not that far behind in 6th place with Jack Osborne, your top AM driver, 7th place overall. But we do have pit stops owed to us now, Peter. Hopefully these drivers have taken a chill pill and have calmed down. And well, if you're Tom Dadswell, you can't even see the race leader in front of you.
Well, if you're Alex Gall, you've just smashed the best lap of the race. 157.5 for the Porsche driver for Satellite E-Stars. And that is 0.6 of a second quicker than Sedgwick's best. Now, Sedgwick, we talked about execution, we talked about making the most of your opportunities. Sedgwick had that clean air. Sedgwick's probably got no idea what's going on behind him. He's thinking, this is a bit dull. I'm just cruising away here in my Ferrari, a nice run in the Northamptonshire countryside. But little does he know of the unmitigated carnage that's gone on up and down the field long behind him.
We did just have a question in the chat, by the way. Hello, everybody watching this one. No, there are no live race stewards in this one, but incidents are looking at things post-race. They always do this post-race in this championship, so that's why you don't see any live penalties happening right now, because I think with the amount of action that's been happening in this race, I think you'd need the stewards to just have to say, right, throw a red flag, stop everybody, we need to sort everything out before we can actually give you all the penalty. But there we go. So yeah, Dadswell, 2nd place, can't see the leader. Alex Gall, meanwhile, is making moves. He's going for 4th place, down the inside into Stir, and I think Andy Archer was more thinking, yeah, let's just back out of that one and still keep ourselves in a really good spot in 5th place.
Yeah, smart. That's the way to play it. I mean, Alex Gall's in another world in terms of pace. He was 1.3 seconds quicker than Andy Archer, and indeed Pete Harrod up ahead of him. So, yeah, Alex Gall is by far the fastest driver on the circuit at the moment. And he's a man on a mission. He's a man out to prove a point as well. You know, he'll be furious about his own mistake in race 1, which cost him the run at a victory, and he'll be trying to make up for that here. Can he topple Sedgwick? Well, 6-7 laps to go, even at half a second faster a lap, it's likely not going to be enough. He's going to have to require a mistake from Sedgwick, but a podium definitely on the cards.
So, running through the people who are out of this race, Yannis Albert, Jesse Payne-Wilkins, they're both out of this race. Josh Thompson and Alex Davidson. Davidson, of course, with that internet issue causing him to have to retire from this race. So we have had 4 retirements from this 40-car grid. And right now, Mark Hutcherson, we saw just there momentarily as we look further back. And this is Patrick Faulkner. So Faulkner further down the order then. And he's looking sort of steady away right now. Got Martin de Jong in front of him. There he is. And more drivers actually getting on board with giving us footage of their of them at their rigs, which means that we get to judge people about their choice of decoration, doesn't it, Peter?
I tell you what, those are pretty good gloves if you are a Faulkner, I would say. They're quite handy for that. The blue and yellow shirt there of Napa Racing as well. I wonder if he's a Camish man or a Sutton man. Oh, actually, yes. Congratulations are in order to
yes.
Ashton is good lady expecting a mini Sutton. That's an ominous thought for British touring car drivers 20 years from now.
Yes, absolutely. Jack Osborne onto pit road. But yeah, from everybody here at RaceSpotTV, congratulations to Ashley and his partner for their announcement from the last couple of days. But we've got a couple more drivers onto pit road right now. Alex Gall, by the way, did make a move on Pete Harrod, and so that means that he's up into third place right now. So he's on the move, is Alex, and I think definitely a second place is in his future, possibly here in this one. Adam Hedgecock, well, there he is running around in the Ferrari, the other Ferrari driver in the 488 Evo. I was always a 355 guy myself.
Oh, me too. Yeah, me too. A 355 manual. Yeah, that'd be very, very cool. Very, very cool. Although actually great to see Ferrari launching their first top class prototype.
Yes.
In 50 years. Top class prototype. But of course the one prototype that really plucks at me is the 333 SP that won the first Petit Le Mans with Wayne Taylor driving with Emmanuel Collard. Very, very cool. But great to see Ferrari back at Le Mans, back in endurance racing, and they've said they'll evaluate selling the cars to customers. I'm sure there'll be private collectors who will insist that they do. Whether they make it to the racetrack is another matter. But I think apparently after year one they will be assessing whether they end up in customer hands. And as we know, there's lots of wealthy people out there that like to see the Ferraris on track. Leader in pit lane, Jack Sedgwick, guy who's been a master of his prancing horse today.
We've got a number of takers onto pit road. Tom Dadswell, Andy Archer,
Gregory.
James Armstrong onto pit road. Yeah, Gregory's actually on pit road right now. And I think he's going to be there for a little while, potentially, is Ben, by the looks of things. Yeah, we've got a number of drivers. Ethan Critchley, Mark Hutchinson, Richard Simner onto pit road as well. So we've got a veritable pit party going on, but a few drivers have stayed out. Alex Gall being one of those, Pete Harrod. Jack Sedgwick comes out of pit road in third place. That's how much of a lead he had, is that he's come out in third place. Ashley Finch, Jared Caroni and Tim Perry also was a pit stop.
Ross McFarlane, his strategical play to pit very early, get out of the traffic, has played him a blinder. He's been able to put down his proper pace. 158.2 is his best, and 158.4 last time by. Yeah, he's just taken a huge chunk of positions there. When that whole pit party began, he was in 18th, he's now in 10th, so that's 8 overtakes he's not had to make and not had to risk. He's there in a commanding position, really going to put another chunk of points on the board if he can get through the next 10 minutes safely. And Alex Davison, I mean, we still don't know what happened in race 1. We'll try and find out, but race 2, an internet issue, that's you just never want to see that ever to any driver. It's just gutting. It really does you know, kind of shoot the fox in terms of the sporting spectacle. However, we've seen season finales in the World GT and indeed the World Touring Car Series throw a huge spanner in the works, so it is far from over yet.
And I always like to think of it as, yeah, you had Alex Gall comes onto pit road. Yes, you had an internet failure which caused you to not finish the race. I always point that out to, well, I mean, look at, I always think of Martin Brundle in the absolutely terrible McLaren with a Peugeot engine that spontaneously combusted if you so much as went near the throttle pedal. And that went spectacularly here at Silverstone, with possibly one of the worst race starts of his career, with literally the car in a fireball as he left the grid. So, you know, yeah, cars fail in the real world. Well, in the virtual world, we have internet failures, you have wheelbase failures, you have Windows-based issues as well. So it can all happen. We just have different types of technical problems.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the way to look at it. You're dealing with a machine, you know, in the outdoor world of racing. You're dealing with a you know, a machine with metal and wires and what have you. I mean, on a simulator, it's not really an awful lot different. And the movement's the same. Steering wheel, pedals, etc. So anything, a piece of equipment can let the competitor down. So pit stop wise, Alex Gal, all the drivers looking fairly similar, around 10 seconds in the pits. Nobody really. Joad Caroni under 10 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that Mercedes. Hopefully he makes it to the flag. But Gal now 8.5 seconds behind, so a bit of an ask with 8.5 minutes to go.
And we are getting reports of Paddy Faulkner eating an apple pie whilst driving, so
an apple pie?
Yeah. Now hopefully it's
McDonald's
not
or homemade?
Well, I was going to say hopefully it's not a McDonald's apple pie, because we all know that is hotter than the surface of the sun when you bite into one of those. So hopefully it's not one of those, or at least he's let it cool a little bit before he's taken a bite into it. Jack Osborne down to 10th place now in all of this. He has lost 7 places, but 10th place as an AM driver is a huge amount of points to be taking into the final round.
It's massive. I mean, this could be the round that we look back on where Jack Osborne took huge control of the AM Class Championship. And look at who he's following there, Jakub Machuski. And he's keeping touch with him. And actually, he's got a very good front gunner in front of him there, in Ethan Critchley too, who's set to score his own chunk of points in the Pro-Am battle. And then Andy Archer as well, 6th overall. I mean, Century Sim Racing, I mean, they'll be dancing in the streets of Wolverhampton, that's for sure.
And Warrington, excuse me.
I got the first letter right.
Yes.
They'll be dancing in the streets of Warrington. Cut that bit out, Hugo. Hit the delay.
It's a slightly different county.
Middle England.
Of course, Warrington, the home of the Rodney. It's a very nice bar where they've got their own recipe sausage rolls. Apparently, it's a grandmother's recipe, and they are to die for. If you want to know more about the Rodney, just follow Rugby League commentator Andrew Voss, who's from Australia. He's been over here for the Rugby League World Cup, and he's been given a veritable a real plethora of different eateries in the north of England whilst he's been on his travels to the different matches, and he says the Rodney, it's God's garden. And they've even had a sign writer put that above the door. God's Garden, Andrew Voss.
Excellent. I love it. Rugby league commentator turns food blogger. I love it.
Oh, his social media. Oh, you want to follow it if you like your foods, and he's a funny guy. He's really good as Andrew, so he's a good follow as Andrew Voss. Enough of the talk of food, because I'm making myself hungry here now. Alex Gall has been eating into the lead that Jack Sedgwick has got, but it's just all too late. Alex Gall gets another fastest lap, by the way, 57.382 this last lap, so has gained himself a bit more time, but yeah, it's all too little too late. The lead that Cedric got in the early stages has just worked out nicely for him.
Yeah, that grid position, so important, and yeah, Cedric made the very most of it as well. You got a feel for Alex Gall, because the pace he's had tonight, how has he not come away with, a win? He'll be ruining that pit stop. Oh, here goes Tom Brown, gonna have a look. Bang, there we go.
If there's one driver that you don't want to... Oh! No! He's got
6 runs.
If there was one driver that you don't want to throw a move down the inside on, though, it's Adam Watson, we've found. And yeah, that car's pretty much toast. I think you need to take a tour back to the pits there, Tom, with that one. But yeah, if there's one driver that you don't throw it down the inside of, it's Adam Watson. I think Watson, though, was a bit late. He come across and, that's Ashley Finch that ended up collecting him. But I think Watson was just turned across him to a degree as well, though.
Very late from Tom Brown there, and it was kind of to the rear quarter panel. Watson had to turn in at some point. I don't think he turned in too early. I think if you're going to make that move, you've got to make sure it's clean. and I don't think it was. But yeah, we've seen too much contact in this race, haven't we? A lot of really sloppy stuff.
That first race
Perfect.
was absolutely wonderful. That was brilliant. That's what this championship can be, is that first race. And the second race is unfortunately what this championship can also be here. It's been a bit of a mess as the second one. We have seen some good moves, don't get me wrong. It's just that, yeah, it's all been a bit unnecessary at times in this one. But 3 3/4 minutes remaining in this race, and shock horror, Adam Watson's onto pit road, so obviously getting some repairs there on that one as we go through. But yeah, Ross McFarlane, 6th place. He's not really making a move on Pete Harrod. Of course, former teammates Pete Harrod and Ross McFarlane. McFarlane, I think he's about where he'll end up. Maybe gain 1 place more, but I think still good points for the championship leader right now, and that's what he needs. He doesn't need wins right now.
No, absolutely not. 6th place. I mean, I think this finish from from 18th on the grid, I think he would have taken anyway. But to have this result with Alex Davidson out of the race, is beyond Ross McFarlane's wildest imagination, I think, at this stage. So it's been a really solid night at the office. He's, you could say, okay, well, yeah, he's been handed one here by Davidson having that internet issue. Well, that's racing. Technical issues can happen. McFarlane's made zero mistakes, and that's what wins championships. That's his recipe for success, and it's worked time and time again. That's why he's got that number 1 plate on the car. That's why he's your defending champion.
Worth pointing out, race number 1, there was not a single drive-through penalty for anybody. Race number 2, there's been 5. So I think that shows what the second race has been like. Ross McFarlane around the outside of Stone. Now that is good racing between the two of them. Pete Harrod not able to fend off Ross McFarlane, so McFarlane up to 5th place now with a nice sweeping move around the outside.
Ross Trailer Park Girl McFarlane, right? Fantastic, really superb stuff there. Just set it all up coming out of Stowe into the club chicane, and now who's he got for 5 seconds up the road to James Armstrong? That's going to be a hard ask in a minute and a half, but a top 5 for Ross McFarlane. I think he will be very pleased with that one. Alex Gall, meanwhile, he's trying to hunt down Jack Cedric. Yeah. He's put in another quick lap there, another 57.2. He's half a second quicker than Cedric, but Cedric doesn't need to take the risk. He's got the advantage. He can afford to manage it. Yeah,
he certainly can. There's Richard Simner, 16th place. This is a good race for Richard, just behind Jensen Adrianson's. But look at all that orange in the timing tower there. A lot of Pro-Am drivers working the way through into the top 10. Jack Osborne's still in 10th place for Am, so looking good for him. But Simner, he's got Adrianson's in front of him, Jared Caroni in front of Adrianson. So those two, I mean, don't write out Jensen for making a potential move in this one. Oh, I can tell you actually, Richard Simner is in a good place, 16th place. The problem is, he's just been given a drive-through penalty.
So that's for an accumulation of incident points. We have seen Simner have a lot of contact with other drivers. The way it works, folks, 1 point for going over the track limits, which is quite often here at Silverstone, 2 for a spin, and 4 for contact with another driver. So I think, is it 17, Paul? Is that the...
It's 20 in this race. With
20?
A 40-minute
Goodness,
race.
So 20 in a 40-minute race, that's quite a lot. So to go over it, you have to be pretty naughty or be bunted around all over the place. But we've seen, like you say, Paul, is that now 6 drive-through penalties we've seen?
Yes, that's the 6th one. And he'll have to take it this lap as well, and he does. Richard takes to the pit road for the final time. There he goes, shooting
Long
up
pit road.
down the pit lane. Yeah, although it does cut quite a bit of the inside of club, though, to be fair. So you do actually, it's quite a short time delta, even though it is quite a long pit road. Final lap, by the way, everybody. Jack Sedgwick is currently going through Lovefield heading down the old start and finish straight through Woodcut he goes. I mean, he got the move done on lap 1 and he's just driven away at the front is all that we can really say about it. We've barely shown him in this second race, but he has done a sterling effort out Cops, heading towards Maggots and Beckett. So you can see Alex Gall in the background there, 5.5 seconds behind. Gall just, it was asking too much of him, but it's going to be another second place for Alex Gall. That's a tremendous performance from the Maradness Satellite E-Stars driver. But Sedgwick, well, he's been imperious at the front in the second race, and he's just got a couple more corners to go before he sees that checkered flag and he sees race victory. It'll be his first victory of the season for Jack Sedgwick. Through Club Corner he goes. The Inex Racing driver sees the checkered flag. He's delighted with that one. It's a race victory for Jack. What a drive from the young Brit. Alex Gall, second place across the line. He gets himself some good points. Andy Archer, 7th place overall. Yes, he's ahead of his teammate Ethan Critchley, who's in 8th. In AM, but Andy Archer across the line, he's your Pro-Am leader and winner in this race. And look back, because it's another Century Sim Racing outfit driver. Oh, Jack Osborne's gained a place right at the end because Jacob Machuski has run out of fuel. He's done an Alex Davidson. Well, Jack Osborne, he thought he was going to finish 10th. He's finished 9th. Even better.
And that's a double win in the AM class for Jack Osborne. Superb stuff. Really well deserved and a great day at the office for him. Chris van der Ness, oh well, 4th place in Pro-Am in race 1. Not so good in race 2 for the Evo SR driver.
I'll tell you what, next week, the championship finale around the Nürburgring, the Grand Prix layout. It's going to be a tricky one. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. That's a nice photo for the DCW racing team. Get the three of them together out there on track. I'm sure the team boss will be delighted to see the three of them alongside getting some shots. Unfortunately, Richard Simner did lose a number of places and ended up in 23rd from that incident. But let's have a look then at your race results, of course pending any post-race stewards decisions. Jack Sedgwick then, I don't think there's any doubt about him, he ends up winning this race by 4.9 seconds over Alex Gall in second place, with Tom Dadswell, a good third place for him in that race. James Armstrong 4th ahead of Ross McFarlane. Big points gained for Ross in the championship over his championship competitor who did not even get to the end of lap 1 of this race. Pete Harrod in 6th ahead of your Pro-Am winner Andy Archer and his teammate Ethan Critchley, 2nd in Pro-Am, 8th overall. And then Jack Osborne, 9th place at the end. So for Century Sim Racing, an AM winner once again. And Jacob Machuski, well, 10th place, running out of fuel across the line. Mark Hutchinson then in 11th. He's the 3rd placed Pro-Am driver ahead of Michael Gray, Tim Perry. Jared Caroni in 14th ahead of Jensen Adriansons in 15th. Ashler Finch and Adam Watson 16th and 17th for Mark Woodhouse. Good result for Mark in 18th place. Then Adam Hedgecock, 19th place. He's the 2nd placed AM driver, but that's 10 places behind the winner there. Matt de Jong, a better second race this evening in 20th place, with Patrick Faulkner then in 21st ahead of Phil Samways and Richard Simner. Paul Crawford 24th ahead of Mark Fletcher. Chris van der Ness 26th ahead of Michael Blake. Lars van Rijn, Timothy van der Broek and Lee Berridge in 30th. Jim Whitehouse and Brian Sun, the last two drivers to finish on the lead lap. Andy Gilmore 1 lap down in 33rd, and then drivers who finished 2 laps down or did not finish at all. Tom Brown, Paul Webster, Ben Gregory, Yanis Albert, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Josh Thompson and Alex Davidson, who had issues on lap number 1. Well, Peter, I mean, it's been a day of drama, of chaos, and that was just race number 2. Race 1 was fantastic. I really enjoyed that first race. The second race, though, if any drivers try and come out and say that that it was all down to the track, I mean, you cannot get a wider track than Silverstone. There's plenty of space, and yet everybody seemed to want the same piece of asphalt.
Yeah, just taking a little look into the peeking behind the curtain of the virtual paddock there as well. A couple of drivers making comments about the race start, and unsurprisingly so. Now, who's to blame, if anyone there? Well, that's not for us to discuss. But what we can say is that the start was all over the place.
And I would say the one person that is not to blame is the man on pole position, because it's that driver who decides when they go. It's up to everybody else to fall in line. As soon as the green flag
goes, yeah. I mean, as soon as the green flag goes, it's you can't go before. If you went before then, you'd be getting people saying you were trying to get a jump. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Maybe something that might get looked at post race. You can always learn from these things. You know, it's never going to run perfect. You know, when you put 40 human beings racing against each other, these things can happen. So I'm sure the organisers will look at it and see. But that was definitely a big contributing factor into why we saw so many incidents early. The ones after that, they're harder to understand, I suppose. But yeah, headlines wise, great drive from Alex Gall, 2 second places. I mean, 21st to 2nd in that last race. Amazing. You know, James Armstrong, a 3rd and a 4th. Brilliant stuff. Tom Dadswell, a podium in the last race as well. Brilliant stuff. But that Pro-Am battle, take your pick there. Who's going to come out on top? That's going to, with 3 sprint races. Oh, amazing.
We're going to need, like, Hugo's computer is going to explode with all the connotations that could be going into that one. Hopefully he can give us some live points. If one of the I know we usually get one of the series admins giving us live points after each race to keep us up to date with everything, but my goodness, Pro-Am is just wide open, absolutely wide open. I said coming into this round there were 7 drivers who were within 100 points of each other. It's take your pick, is that one. Just get a deck of cards, take your pick, because it's literally going to be at the chance of a draw of a card, or chance of a contact, or anything could happen here. There's going to be a lot of nervous people out there next week.
Oh, can you imagine just charging down into turn 1 from a rolling start, the Nürburgring? It's you're going from, well, certainly at racing speed, you're going at 6th gear down to 1st gear, downhill braking, so the ABS is cutting in, and you've got 40 cars all around you. It could be, and 3 races, of course, that means we're going to get 2 reverse grids. It could be carnage. They're stepping into the casino, those drivers, next week. One not to miss on RaceSpotTV.
It's worth quickly pointing out as well that Pro Championship, I mean, pending what happens in terms of drop scores, I think this has been a big turning point for Ross McFarlane. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, didn't have a good day in the books for himself. It's amazing how things can turn in this championship, and I think Ross has really helped himself in the Pro Championship. Am Championship, you pointed it out, Jack Osborne. What a performance from him today. To get 2 Am wins here today is fantastic from him.
An Am win, and of course, you can have an Am win and you can have a really good Am win, and he did in the second race, 9th overall. That's a massive truckload of points. What will happen behind him? Interesting. Adam Hedgecock got a 3rd in class and a 2nd in class. Really strong day for Lord Hedge, our very own Mr. Fish Tank. I did see something on his inboard camera there, though. I don't know if it was like a light or a mirror or a fan or a disco ball. It kind of looked like a disco ball, but anyway, we'll get clarification on that later on. But a resident cinematographer, Lord Hedge, had a good night at the office as well.
He certainly did. So that is going to be Silverstone done. One more round, the season finale. You do not want to miss this one. The Nürburgring around the Grand Prix layout 8 p.m. UTC. We're back on GMT for this championship, for the final round of this one. Next week on RaceSpotTV with myself and Peter on that one. That is going to be drama filled next week. But what a day it's been here for a couple of drivers. Josh Thompson had a great drive in race 1, got the win in race 1, but Jack Sedgwick was imperious at the front in race 2 and got himself a nice lead, getting himself a comfortable win in the end. Until next week, goodbye from me and Peter and Hugo Luis behind the scenes. Join us for that season finale.